Paying back for those of you who are still around. Okay. Right, we have three very interesting talk by three distinguished speakers. During the break time at lunch, I have a list of questions which I showed to them. Said, "Oh, I've answered all these questions in my talk." Right? So I'd like to invite, I think, those people on the floor, I think especially those from the manufacturing companies, please think of some difficult questions for this panel of speakers. All right. Maybe let me kick off by asking a few questions. First question for Ken. You mentioned that you have about 30% of the members in the SMF using cloud services. So the question is, what are we doing? What are you doing in SMF to encourage the use of cloud by the members?
Well, we started with a focus not on cloud but on security, because I think there was a misunderstanding or lack of understanding of security and issues related to security. So starting with a talk on end of life of Windows XP, we kind of graduated to talk a little bit about how do you have better infrastructure for systems. One thing we do need to do, and we haven't done as well as we should, is really push the cloud agenda strongly. We've worked with multinationals to organize joint seminars, but these tend to be more product-related discussions.
Right, thank you. Maybe for the David or Ram, you want to add to how we can promote the use of clouds to the manufacturing companies or other companies?
I think one of the criticalities that many manufacturers are afraid of these days it is still the hurdle of wanting to push mission critical applications onto the cloud. They need a certain level of assurance that it is safe out there. Data is protected. It is reliable. It will not fail. It will not fall apart. They will not lose important time and resource due to downtime and losses. These sort of things.
Ram, anything to add?
I would like to add, is in the cloud area, though the mission critical applications are important, the cloud service provider need to understand their customer's customer. That is more important, because as I mentioned, we are all bound by our customers' SLAs. So if the SLAs are not able to meet, then it's a problem, whether it's an on-premise or cloud-based solution. If you are on-premise, you know your customers, so you accordingly you provide the service level. But when you are moving to the cloud, they need to understand what are the implications in case they fail, and what kind of penalty class, whether your customer's customer going to penalize them. So that is more important. And once you understand that kind of level of SLA is built into your cloud-based services, I think that should be great.
Let me add something else into that. SLAs being SLAs, and even if the cloud provider, service provider tells you, hey, we have got millions and millions of dollars in terms of paid up capital, it's what I always tell my service provider is, you guys may be super rich in terms of capital, but I was saying, service providers, they may have their SLAs, they are protected by you guys who are customers, you're protected by SLAs, but end of the day, I always tell my service provider that I don't care how much of paid up capital you guys have, but I don't want to end up with a situation that I have to LD you guys for failed delivery, for non-compromising SLAs. the impact to the business is worse off. It is not easy to recover if the business was suffer a bad experience from certain failures. I would rather not LD the service provider than to ensure that everything is smooth sailing.
Thanks, David. I see some familiar faces on the floor. And some of you are from semiconductor companies or some manufacturing other companies. Anyone on the floor who have any questions? Yeah, there's a mic for you.
Yeah, any one of you can take this, please. My concern is more on the architectural part. Okay, basically for manufacturing, the control is more important, as mentioned by some of you. Do we still need to route the traffic through our office network, or can we allow people to access from anywhere? I mean, I'm asking in the perspective of manufacturing environment. Is cloud accessibility a key thing to consider, or do we need to add more control because of going to cloud?
So the question is regarding architecture.
Yes.
If you are a manufacturing company, you need to access to the clouds. What kind of additional infrastructure you need to put to secure your traffic, right?
Yeah, basically.
Maybe Ram?
Yeah, I just share our Asia plants are mostly, it's not in the city area, definitely. It's all 2-3 hours away, or sometimes 5-6 hours. So the infrastructure available in the remote area is very limited, and it's very costly also. That is the network, basically. Network bandwidth is one of the important function. So you need to have a quite good bandwidth, reliable bandwidth. Otherwise, it will not have a continuous service. We face that, especially in Indonesia, Vietnam, in some part of China itself, remote areas, because we have around 60 plants in China alone, in all the regions, but we face some of the areas. Even in India, it's another case. So the infrastructure is very important for a cloud-based solution. That means that performance. If you don't get that right, your performance will not be good, because we are running MRP. We run at least once a week or twice a week. If MRP cannot run on time, we cannot give our supplier schedules. So that's one of the first area I would say that, and it is very difficult to bring that in a higher level. It's not that increasing bandwidth is going to increase your performance. It's not directly proportional. So you need to find a way, whether it works for you, whether in terms of costing or in terms of service provider, where network service provider able to do that. So that's one of the main area people are concerned. Of course, there are costing measures on applications, services. So the main function is basically the performance. That's what we feel. That's one of the reasons we are not going in the ERP segment or our supply chain segment.
Yeah, and the other thing you need to think about is online, offline mode. Do you need to ever run your applications in an offline mode? Because if everything's on the cloud, you get no cloud, you're dead. So you need to think through that as well.
Okay, thank you.
We have a BCP. Okay, we do have business continuity planning, but it works for a couple of hours in terms of our supplier schedules or our work orders. It doesn't work for more than few hours. So that needs to be considered. That's all a business process important.
And before you want to consider invoking a BCP or a DRP, when you're building infrastructure, you may want to consider how much redundancy you want to build in there. You may have a cheap broadband line to support as a backup against your MPLS. You may want to consider that it's a cheaper option.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more questions from the floor? If not, I'd like to ask the next questions. I think David mentioned about the gray box, and this relates to customizations.
Oh, sorry.
And especially when you run applications on the cloud, and for manufacturing companies, there need to be customizations. I think David have introduced a way of doing some of these gray box for interfaces. But probably that's more simpler interfaces. If you have complex process flow
That's
and
fine.
changes,
Thank you.
how do you think we should be dealing with that for customizations in the cloud?
There always will be a trade-off. How much of change you can have on the cloud, whether you want to change your ERP or you want to change your processes. If you change your processes, then it makes things simpler in terms of applying a gray box or a white box, black box, whichever you want to do your out of frame computing.
We good?
If
All right,
you
great.
choose to
All right, I'm the last speaker of the day, so you guys are hanging in. I'm really impressed, actually. I appreciate you coming in. In fact, during the talk today, we have 2 drives to give away to the most eager answer to a question I will ask. By the way, we're from Seagate. We make this drive, so these were kind of cheap for us to give away. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay? So we're going to talk just a little bit about what's happening on the storage side and the governance side of your data center. We have maybe 12 slides or so. It'll take about 20, 25 minutes, and I love to tell people that because you're all wondering how long am I going to be here for.
Well, if you want to change,
I will tell you,
your
I like to say
ERP,
bold
then
things
it
during
no
these because
longer
they're small and
becomes
no one's recording it, and
a SaaS
no one will ever
solution.
know. But one of the
Well,
things
having
that,
said that,
as you
there are
walk away
some
from this
providers
today, and if I were to look forward 4 years from now, you will not buy storage from a company
models. One is they
that
slice
is butters.
their infrastructure. They rent it.
They will
to
all
you
be gone.
As if you are running an on-premise. That means they give you a segment for your development, your UAT, and your production application. Everything tailored to what you want to change. That means to say you still own the license, you still own the maintenance, but you pay maintenance to your service provider. That one is going to be rather expensive. It'll be a very expensive option. The other way, of course, is the full SaaS ERP model where single instance. You share the same instance as anybody else. You have your separate database. You change your SOP. You move some of your computation out of your ERP instead of putting into full reliance on the ERP itself.
Okay, thanks. Ram, anything to add?
In the ERP segment, once again, customization, is depends on your business process. All right, you can standardize as much you can, but it's not going to be available for all the plant. Country-specific, various regulations in each country across the globe, which plays an important role in your customization part. So those things are very difficult to handle in a cloud-based solution today, so to speak. Okay, so that's another reason that we are not able to move, especially the interfaces. You have interface with ERP with many other systems in the shop floor. In a cloud-based solution, how effective? You have a barcode system or a barcode scanner, okay, in a shop floor. How can you integrate in a cloud-based solution? How much performance you will get it? Your pickup sheet. You go to the warehouse, you pick up your material for your work orders. How quickly you can do that in a handheld device. So these are the areas where the concerns are still there. So which the interfaces are sometimes is not working, even though you implement it, then there will be a problem in execution of your manufacturing cycle. So those are all not yet there to our knowledge, but still people say that it's already there, but we still not even done a pilot study on that. Okay, that's over.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the floor?
Testing. Hi, my name is Sam. I'm from Ricoh, Singapore. All right, just towards for SOCAN. Okay, I understand that 20 to 30% are taking up clouds, right? That's similar to us, which means that those who are on a bigger account, bigger kind of MNCs, they find this workable because delivery is possible, such as SLA. Okay, now I face about the 70% of our clientele, right? Because they do not have the kind of big skills of ability, the SLA commitments from providers are really not as strict. So how could the panels advise us, like, how can we convince these 70% of the people, like, within your SMF members, just similarly to us? Thank you.
Well, the tough thing with actually the smaller companies is they don't listen to anybody, except each other or their friends. So the only way I found that is most effective is to get success stories to help, whereby you tend to get more, the people, the 30% who are successful, to talk a little bit more and to encourage. And if you just think about it, if you're a small company, when you talk about SLA, if they're running their own IT system, I can bet you that a public cloud infrastructure is much, much better than your own internal SLAs. So you are already benefiting from that. But I think it's a journey, it's education, it's a trust, and I think it is something where we have to keep pushing, and then once it hits tipping point, then you don't have to worry about it. But we're still some way. It's just like you think about it, 15 years ago, not everybody wants to have a website, but now they need to know they have a website.
Well, thanks. Any more questions? Right. Right, go ahead.
My question is more about, so I get the feeling that for manufacturing, only the business part of the IT operations can ever go to the cloud. The manufacturing operations seems to be not possible today, because I think of more of the, like you say, one of the problems is the interface between manufacturing equipment or manufacturing IT operations. There's different from the business operations. I think this latency issue between manufacturing operations and business operations is a bit different. For business operations, you can tolerate a bit more latency than for manufacturing. So does it mean that in the long run, most of the manufacturing operations really can't go to the cloud? Only the business operations can.
I think probably Director Ram.
You are correct. As I mentioned, it's not that it's not possible at all. There should be an innovation there. That's what the cloud-based companies has to come out. That's why we split the functionality. Like I said, plant maintenance, we do that in cloud. Complete manufacturing plant maintenance is one of the functionality as extended functionality in a ERP. We just cut that into a cloud-based solution, and we are doing that. That is not a mission critical, but still it's in a manufacturing application. Like that, we can split and also I talk about TMS, Transport Management System, RFID. These are all cloud-based solutions available. It's also available within the ERP, but we just taken away a piece from there, and we done it with the different vendors. So it is up to the manufacturing companies to view that which one makes them to go to cloud in the current scenario, and I'm sure that in the future some innovation will come out. The interfaces can be taken care. And it's not too long to our knowledge, because the way the technology is changing, we should be able to get it. That's our interpretation.
Right, thanks. Anyone want to add to that? David? No? Right, we are coming to the end of the discussion, on the panel discussion. I think compared to a few years ago when cloud was just launched, I think there were a lot of doubts on the usage of cloud applications by the manufacturers and so on. I think from today's discussion, we see that there's actually a lot of more applications are going to cloud, like asset management, plant maintenance, and ERP, email, and so on, right? So it's good to see that a lot more applications are going to clouds. I think in future, as we overcome some of the infrastructure capabilities, probably we'll see more applications in cloud. And especially for the SME, I think if you're starting a new companies, if I'm thinking of starting a new companies, I think I would probably look at the cloud first for a lot of applications, right? Instead of starting your own data center, your own servers, getting your own IT guys and so on. So there's a lot of benefits of going to the cloud. Of course, there are some limitations right now, but where it's capable, I think like some of the panelists are talking about, the security within the clouds are there. I think there's a lot more infrastructure put in place, and the vendors are a lot more mature, right? So with that, I'd like to thank the panel speakers, Mr. Ken, David, and Ram. I'd like to invite you to give a thank you note to the speakers. All right, thank you.